Since it was announced about a year and a half ago that they're going to be doing a live action Legend of Zelda movie, we really haven't gotten a whole lot of information on it since then. But since the announcement that they're going to be releasing it in 2027, well, now we're starting to get a little bit more. And according to these latest rumors right now, they're actually going to be shooting a Legend of Zelda trilogy. It's not just going to be a singular movie. Zelda will reportedly be the start of a trilogy. This is the headline from an article from Game Rant. A movie industry insider claimed that the Legend of Zelda film will be the first of a planned trilogy, with 3 movies planned out over 6 years starting in 2027. Additionally, the Legend of Zelda movie will begin shooting in November 2025 in New Zealand, where other high-profile films such as the Lord of the Rings trilogy were developed. And I think that's kind of a pointless thing to add there. Like, I understand Legend of Zelda is supposed to be a fantasy movie, so they're like, well, it's shot in New Zealand where this other big fantasy series was shot. Try to draw some comparison, but does it really matter? It's like, hey, this movie was shot in the same country that this other movie was shot. There's really no relevance to it whatsoever, but they're just going to try to draw that comparison, and I find that personally funny. But anyway, kind of the big point about all this, saying it's coming from an industry insider, we don't necessarily know, so you can take this with a grain of salt. But still, I think there is something reasonable about this, because they say they're starting production in November of this year. So right now they're probably doing casting calls. And usually when it comes to that sort of thing, they will have casting calls saying that we want actors for this particular type of role. And we're wanting them to sign on for multiple films in this, just so you're not getting people to audition who don't want to do multiple films like that. And then through context and other things, they might not necessarily say this is a Legend of Zelda movie, but they say we're looking for like a young male lead with a thin build for a fantasy style adventure movie, and we want him to sign on for 3 movies. Production will begin in November of this year. I mean, through that kind of context, you can kind of infer what they're talking about, and I think that's what this information is ultimately coming from, because we don't know where this industry insider is, or who this industry insider is that they claim had this information. But that's kind of how some of these things go. So I think it is reasonable to assume that's kind of what happened in this situation. On March 28th, news of the Legend of Zelda movie was posted on Nintendo Today app, which had just been released following the March 27th Nintendo Direct broadcast. Nintendo Today confirmed that The Legend of Zelda would be released worldwide on March 26, 2027, meaning fans must wait 2 years to see Nintendo and Sony Pictures' upcoming live-action film. While details about the cast and main plot of the Zelda movie remain unknown, the movie will reportedly focus on Link fulfilling his destiny as the hero of Hyrule, as the series' iconic villain Ganon seeks control of the fabled relic called the Triforce. So kind of what you would expect from a Zelda movie. Now, a lot of people have tried to speculate on what game they're going to follow particularly. I personally don't like the idea if they're going to follow a game. I think they should have their own story, because every game in the franchise is its own story. I mean, there are some that are direct follow-ups to the other, but for the most part, they're kind of their own standalone story, because that's just how the lore of the Zelda franchise works, where you have the hero of time being reincarnated throughout the ages. Same with the reincarnations of Ganon and Zelda. So I would think it would be better off if this was something original and not necessarily trying to follow a particular game in the franchise, even though I think it would personally be cool to see some of those realized. I think that would just be the safer bet, to make something original, but still having the same type of story and feel that you get from playing the games, if that can actually be captured in a live action format. I'm not necessarily sure, but at the same time, I'm not also discounting it entirely either, because I do think it's possible to have a decent live action Zelda movie. And since you have a lot of the same people working behind the scenes on this one, as we got with the Super Mario Brothers movie that turned out to be pretty decent, then maybe it's possible that they can actually pull through with this one as well. Following the news of the Zelda's movie's 27 release date, an insider claimed that there might be more than one movie in the works. As reported by VGC, movie industry insider Daniel Reichman claimed in a paid Patreon post that The Legend of Zelda would be the first of a potential trilogy. Reichman stated that the potential Zelda film trilogy would have a 6-year plan in which all significant acting roles would be signed on for the entire span. And kind of like I was saying, though, where you're going to, when you're doing the casting calls, you're letting the people auditioning know that you're willing to sign on for multiple picture deals spread out over a 6-year period, because that's kind of important going into it. Last thing you want to do is someone signed on to one movie and it's like, hey, we want you to do the follow-ups to this. And they're like, no, we don't want to do that. We're done with just one movie. Then you have to either get rid of their character or recast them. And that's something that I'm sure the studio would rather avoid. So it's better just to be at least as transparent as you can out the gate. While other details about the Legend of Zelda project remain elusive at the time of writing, the film will be produced by Nintendo executive Shigeru Miyamoto alongside Hollywood producer Avi Arad. Miyamoto was also credited as the producer of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which subsequently became the all-time highest grossing video game movie adaptation. Maze Runner director Wes Ball will fulfill the same role for the upcoming Nintendo and Sony Pictures film. And Wes Ball hasn't done anything in the past that really got me excited. He's competent enough, especially when it comes to more of a big budget, effects driven type movies. He can handle that. And this old tweet of his I got pulled up does give me some confidence in him, where this is from January 29th, 2010. Since I would never even hope to have the chance to direct it, the next big mocap Avatar-like movie should be The Legend of Zelda. And this is because this came out right after, or this post was made right after the first Avatar movie came out. Which is to suggest that he has been a fan of the Zelda franchise for quite some time now. And having someone like this direct it, I think is a good sign, because even if he's not necessarily the most capable of it, still think it's better when you have a fan of the franchise directing something, even if they're not necessarily the best at it. At the very least, they're not going to do something that's completely disrespectful to the source material. And then again, having Miyamoto on as a producer for this, I think is a big help, because he's been really protective over his franchises. And we saw the results with that, with Super Mario Brothers. Now, is that a perfect movie? Is that a perfect adaptation of Mario? I don't think so, but I think it was good. And I think they're trying to at least tell the story and be somewhat respectful to the source material. And for the most part, they pulled it off, and they obviously saw a lot of success with that. And I think they can see the same with this one, assuming that they actually are able to pull it off. Right now, we don't know a whole lot about it, just these little bits of information, but the studio wanting to do 3 films on this does suggest that they have at least some confidence that they can make it work. Now, one of the things about this, though, just because they're going to have the actors sign on for a 3-picture deal doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to make 3 movies. One thing I would hope is that they're not going to have the first movie end at a cliffhanger when you have to make it 3 pictures in order to actually get the full story. I hope what they're going to do is basically just have them sign on for 3 pictures, just in the off chance that they decide to make more movies, because that way you can make the first movie and just focus on that, not focusing on the next thing, but just make one movie, make it a standalone one. Maybe you can even have it somewhat open-ended like we saw with Mario Brothers, where there's room to continue on if you want, but the movie itself is pretty much its own story. And just focus on making that the best thing possible without having to count on people coming back for the next one or something like that. So you can do that. And then if they actually do decide to make more movies, then they already have the actors signed on for that. So, but this way, it's not necessarily saying it's going to be a trilogy 100%, but they're just kind of leaving that option open, because a lot of times actors will sign on for multiple movies for a particular role, and then nothing transpires. But they basically just want to kind of put a pin in it, saying like, okay, we're not guaranteeing you that you're signing on for multiple movies, but you're going to be available if we do make multiple movies over this time span. And that's something that they're agreeing to. So that might be the case here, and it's not necessarily a planned trilogy, or they are planning a trilogy, and then it's a matter of how are they going to go about it. Are they going to make a standalone movie that leaves it open, or are they going to make a movie kind of like what we saw with Lord of the Rings, where you have to watch every movie in the franchise in order to get the whole story? Like I said, I hope they don't do that. But I guess until we know more, we're just going to have to wait and see. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And also, if you haven't already, Make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest in entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.